Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. Recovery from OCD and anxiety is within your reach, and this is coming from someone who has suffered from it for 40 years, and I just wish I could get that across to everyone that's maybe going through a hard time right now, that it is within your grasp. This doesn't have to be a life sentence, and I hope my videos are really helping you see that. As always, if you're finding this content helpful, please remember to like the videos and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. So moving on with today's video, I often talk about metacognitive therapy as really helping me get through some of the worst times I've had with OCD and anxiety. And I really do advocate for it because it has really pushed me through some really dark times in my life, devastating times where I just didn't see recovery in my future. I just thought that, this was just my life now, and I just couldn't see an end to it. And I was in a really dark, bad place. But once I really did put into practice everything I'd learned with my therapist around metacognitive therapy, it really did start to change the way I react to my thoughts, my relationship with them, because over a long period of time, I had developed these coping mechanisms which weren't helpful at all. And I think we all know that as OCD sufferers, maybe some more than others, I had really good insight into my OCD, and I knew by what I was doing with the thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, because a lot of my intrusions were, it was all thought-based, images and intrusive thoughts. Now, when I was younger, I had a lot of physical compulsions as well. I had the physical and rituals, that element to OCD. But as I've gone older, it has become more purely obsessional. But as I've talked about in many videos before, that when we have that pure OCD, it is actually rumination, and it is actually a compulsion in itself, because we can't do anything about the thoughts that come into our heads. That is just automatic. These thoughts we can't do anything about. They're going to appear in our head. But we can do something about the thinking, and that is the beautiful thing about metacognitive therapy. It really did change my relationship with my thoughts, all those intrusions, whether that be, an image, a thought that popped in, a sensation in the body, or an urge to check, or, anything like that. It was just the way I responded to it was different now. And I really started to see the benefits of this type of therapy. I talk a lot in my videos about letting the thoughts be there, and it really is key with this type of therapy, because we're going to get intrusive thoughts. Everybody gets intrusive thoughts, whether you have OCD or not. But the difference with a sufferer like myself in the past, I would get so alarmed by the thoughts. Immediately I was distressed by them. I was anxious. I was panicky over them. And it just didn't bode well when I was so alarmed by them, because it just meant that I was digging myself further into the OCD rabbit hole, where I was just making it all more complex. And these thoughts say nothing about us, and that's the thing. And I think we know deep down that that's the truth, that these thoughts aren't us. But there's the doubt there, because OCD is a doubting disorder, and we have that massive doubt over them of, why are we getting them? What if this means I'm a terrible person? What if something bad could happen because I've thought this? If I don't do this ritual, something terrible is going to happen. And we get so caught up in all of that we immediately start reaching out for those safety behaviors. We're on high alert. We're maybe doing those rituals, whether that's ruminating, trying to come to some kind of conclusion, we're trying to gather evidence and try and get some peace of mind over the thoughts or images. And with these thoughts, we go round and round in circles. You know, we're chasing some kind of certainty, some kind of conclusion. And it never comes with OCD because, you know, we just never come to a point where we're actually happy with the answer. And we can ask for reassurance and we can do all these things, but we may get small snippets of peace, but then it rebounds back to us because we're actually informing our brain that we don't trust ourselves, and we need to keep in that cycle of searching for certainty. You know, our brain is taking note of the fact that this stuff is important that we're thinking about. This needs to be looked into because our brain realizes that we're not letting it go. And that's where metacognitive therapy came in for me. I realized that all these thoughts, you know, there's lots of possibilities in life, and as you know, there can be some really irrational thoughts, and there can be some beliefs we have that we've come up with over time with our OCD, and there's lots of things that can play out in life. A lot of mine were kind of real event stuff as well, which was really hard, and it can feel harder with real event because these are actual real life scenarios, you know, things that can actually happen in life. And some can be really irrational things as well that we just think of, and we're just completely opposite. This is why OCD picks on people like ourselves, because we hold ourselves to such a high moral code and our values are extremely high. And that's why OCD really gets its grips into us, because it knows it can exploit that. And it goes against everything of who we are, you know, at our core. And that's really sad. It's a really sad part of it, because it feels like OCD is this big bully picking on us because we're an easy target. And that's really is how it is. You know, it felt like that for me for many years. I just felt like I was bombarded with these intrusive thoughts. And like I said, in my later years, it was more mental based, rumination. You know, you can call it purely obsessional, but I really do believe that that is a compulsion in itself, because like I said, thinking we can do something about the thoughts that pop into our head, they're just going to occur, but we can definitely change the way we respond to them. And that's what I really wanted to talk about, because it sounds so simple. Just let the thoughts be there, you know, the least involvement as possible. That's what my therapist used to say to me, and it's really what I say to you guys now, is the least involvement as possible. We can use non-engagement responses. You know, in our head we might get an intrusive thought or an image. I don't need to answer that right now. You know, we can say it in our head, I don't need to answer that right now, and move forward with our day. As long as we're always moving forward, we're not wrapping ourselves up in the thought, we're not trying to figure it out, we're just letting it be there. Now, this is the important bit I really wanted to address in today's video, because I hear it in other videos where people talk about, well, if it was just so easy that I just ignored my thoughts, then yeah, I'd be healed. And that is important, because we do not ignore our thoughts with OCD recovery. We let them be there. And there's a very subtle difference in ignoring a thought and letting it be there. Ignoring a thought is still sending a message to our brain that this is not okay, it shouldn't be there. And that is where people fail, and where I failed for quite a long time in my recovery, because I think I was always subtly pushing that thought away, like it's not supposed to be there. I don't want it there. Whereas if we welcome the thought, let it be there, like I said, it's be as passive as possible with it. Like, okay, you can hang out as long as you like, but I've got more important things to get on with in my day, and move forward. And that's going to feel pretty uncomfortable. And it really took myself a long time to get to grips with that subtle difference between ignoring a thought and letting it be there. You're not ignoring a thought when you let it be there. It's still there. You can feel it there. And it can feel uncomfortable. You can feel like, I always get it in the pit of my stomach when I have an uncomfortable thought that's arisen. I can really feel that discomfort, and it's the way we move forward in our day with that discomfort there, that is the tricky part. And that's the bit that really took me a while to really get to grips with and move forward in my recovery, because we're going to feel it and it's going to feel horrible at times. But you're doing it right. If you're feeling the discomfort and moving forward anyway, moving forward with your day, with your life, doing the things you normally do, you're still on that path to recovery, because our brain is recognizing that this thought is there, but you're moving forward anyway. You're doing what you need to do. It's not important and it doesn't need to hang around. That is the message we're sending to our brain by actually letting the thoughts be there. So I really, really wanted to get this out there, because I do think people will slip up on that, as I did for quite a while actually. It really didn't hit home where I was going wrong for quite some time. So letting a thought be there is not ignoring a thought, because that's completely different. There is a subtle difference there. Ignoring a thought is saying you don't want it to be there. And as hard as these thoughts are, because we don't want these horrible things to be there, these things that scare us, the first thing we do is just, we push it away. We like, no, I don't want to think about that. That's ignoring a thought. We don't want to think about it. But the message we're sending to our brain is, that's not good. I don't want that there. And our brain's going to hang on to it, like tight grip is going to hang on to that thought, because it's important. We've addressed that. It's an important thought. In a horrible way, it's an important thought. But when we actually let it be there and just think, no, I don't need to answer you. You can hang about as long as you like. And I'm just going to move forward. Like I said, it's going to feel horrible for a time. And our brain, as it wraps itself, around the fact that is unimportant, doesn't need to be there, it'll discard it and it'll dissolve. And the amazing thing that I discovered once I let them be there was they do dissolve. And the more consistently we practice this with our intrusive thoughts, they don't stick around as long. Like initially, they may hang around for quite some time at first, as we're getting used to the fact that we're actually implementing this therapy correctly. Whereas, for a time after that, it just became so much easier to actually execute, because we let the thought be there, move forward, and before like 10 minutes has gone, you realize it's already gone, because you haven't invested any time in it. You haven't wrapped yourself into it and tried to figure it out, try and come to some kind of conclusion. You've not performed a ritual. And it's all about, we're not engaging in those rituals as well. So like I said, that's physical or mental rumination. They're both the same. They're still compulsions, because we can't do anything about the thoughts that appear, but the thinking we can. So I really hope this has given you a bit more insight into metacognitive therapy and the difference between ignoring a thought and letting it be there, because there is a subtle difference. Just remember that, because once you can get your head around that, it's a lot easier to implement this therapy. And you will realize the times, and there's going to be setbacks. This isn't a straightforward thing. You're not going to start this kind of therapy today and you've got it all figured out. You never get involved in a thought again. Many a times, even now, occasionally I will get an intrusive thought and I will find myself getting involved with it. I don't even know I'm doing it at times. And then I think, as earlier you can catch it, the easier it is. Once we've not invested any time in it and we've not given it the attention it craves. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I got involved there. It's fine. And just be really passive about it. I'll let it be there and carry on with what I was doing. Because it's very easy to get sucked in, especially if you're very well rehearsed with OCD and the way it catches our attention. And, we start doing those, what feels like automatic things when they're not. We're actually doing that. We're actually involving ourselves in it. As hard as that is to swallow, because it took me a long time to realize it was me that's actually following the thoughts. And it's not easy, it really isn't. I want to stress that, don't beat yourself up about this, because I did for a long time. Because it isn't easy. It takes a lot of hard work and patience, and recognizing the fact that we're doing unhelpful behaviors in response to our intrusive thoughts. And, we're getting dragged into these rituals, and we can do something about that. But you're going to have setbacks along the way. But this is all going in the right direction if we're choosing this path. You can definitely recover, and it is within your grasp, and you will get there by following these steps. This has helped me recover. I wouldn't be classed as an OCD patient now because I follow this. I wouldn't meet the criteria for OCD anymore. And you guys can do it too. I never believed I could be where I am now, especially not helping other people. So believe me, it's definitely possible for you. If it's possible for me, it's certainly for you too. So let me know in the comments if this information has been helpful for you today, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.